Welcome to Regrind Weekly Reflections. I am Linda O. This is a space where we pause to renew our thinking and refocus our perspective on life with greater clarity and intention. So let's sit with this together. I recently had a conversation with someone who said something that caught my attention. She said, "This is just who I am. This is just how I am." And she didn't say it proudly. She said it like it was a permanent thing, like it was simply a fact about herself that couldn't change. And I remember thinking, how many things do we say about ourselves that way? This is just who I am. I've always been this way. That's just my personality. We say those things too easily without always realizing what we are reinforcing. Because one of the most limiting things we can say about ourselves is, "This is just who I am." Can we say it like it's final, like it cannot change? But many of the ways we see ourselves were learned over time, shaped by experiences, by what we heard repeatedly, and by the thoughts we practiced again and again. And over time, those thoughts became normal. And the mind tends to follow what is normal, even when what is normal is limiting. A thought repeated long enough can start to feel like truth. And it's not because it's true, but because it's been practiced. And what's important to understand is this: the mind is capable of changing. There is a concept called neuroplasticity, which simply means the brain can form new patterns when we begin thinking and responding differently. So the way you've always thought is not the only way your mind is capable of thinking. Real growth begins with the quiet work of renewing your mind, becoming aware of the thoughts we've been repeating and choosing little by little to think in ways that move us towards clarity instead of limitation. Growth doesn't always mean learning something new. Sometimes it means unlearning old ways of thinking, unlearning assumptions, unlearning patterns we carried simply because they became normal. And that can feel uncomfortable because when something has been part of our thinking for a long time, it can start to feel like part of who we are. Not everything you learned about yourself was meant to stay with you forever. Some beliefs were shaped in moments that no longer define where you're going. And growth sometimes requires the willingness to loosen your grip of those old patterns so something new can begin to take root. Think about it like walking through a field. If you've walked the same path for years, that path becomes clear and easy to follow. But if you begin walking in a different direction, the path isn't obvious yet. It requires intention. But the more you walk that direction, the clearer it becomes. The thoughts we repeat become the paths our minds recognize most easily. Growth often begins in small, quiet shifts. A different thought, a pause before reacting, a moment of questioning something we used to accept about ourselves. Because we often say, "This is just who I am," but that's a statement. And growth begins when that statement shifts from "who I've been" to "who am I becoming." Outgrowing old patterns doesn't happen all at once. It happens through awareness, through patience, through choosing again and again thoughts that move us towards growth. And sometimes growth begins with something very simple: noticing the sentence we say about ourselves and deciding they don't have to be the final word. So if you catch yourself saying, "This is just how I am," pause for a moment, sit with it, and consider the possibility that your mind is capable of learning something new. If this reflection spoke to you, sit with it, share it with someone who may need it. I am Linda O. Until next time, renew, refocus, and rise.